Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Zach.
and welcome to the Movie Vault. Today we are reviewing the 1988 Christmas classic Die Hard,
Yeah.
which was directed by John McTiernan and grossed $35 million. No, wait, the budget was $35 million,
Roughly.
and it grossed $139 million.
Roughly.
We were given a range, so we picked the lowest number for how much it grossed and the highest number for the budget, because
You can always be a pessimist.
Yeah, you can always be a pessimist. The Rotten Tomato score is 94%.
Wow. That's really high.
Yeah, and that's both for the critic score and the audience score.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, this is a movie that is about the Arizona State Senator, John McClane.
Oh yeah, and he's not a senator; he's a police officer.
Yes.
So we'll get right into it. Watch, botch, or top notch. I keep saying them in the wrong order, but you know what I mean.
It doesn't matter. For myself, I would have to say that this movie is definitely a watch.
I'm going to argue that this movie is a top notch.
What?
And it's not because of my own personal feelings about the movie. I just feel like this is a movie that influenced so many movies that you have to watch it. Like, the modern action thriller was heavily influenced by Die Hard.
Maybe.
And now, I could be wrong on that.
But
if I'm wrong and there's other movies earlier than Die Hard that did the same things that Die Hard does, with the building exploding and all those different things, let me know so I can go watch that movie. But from my knowledge, Die Hard definitely changed the trajectory of how action movies in the 90s and early 2000s were.
yes, if you like that style.
Yes. Now, for me personally, I would say it's a watch, but I'm trying to look at overall, and that's why I say top
Okay.
notch.
Me personally, I say watch though.
Okay.
I understand your opinion though. So look at us making compromises already.
Making compromises, yeah. That's one thing you learn when you're on a podcast with someone, is every relationship involves some compromise, right? And
we're a relationship apparently.
we are a podcast relationship, podcaster to podcaster.
So we have
And
podcastural.
we have to make sure that our feelings are in check, and we don't go off the hand, blow up, and then there will be no more podcasts if that happens.
We have to be friends. We have to figure out ways to trick ourselves into liking each other.
Yeah. Otherwise, the so much has been built up and is balancing on the movie vault still existing, and we are doing our best to make sure that it
Lives
doesn't fall
are
to
at
pieces
stake here, people.
like the building did in this movie.
Yes, indeed. Structural integrity of the movie vault.
So the plot of the movie is not that complicated, I don't think.
Neither of us took notes because I've seen this movie before. Ben has not. But
I did not see it before, but it's not the plot is not that.
yeah, I
intricate.
figured we don't need to take notes because it won't even take 5 minutes. But basically, it's about this cop who comes to visit his wife who moved away with the kids, and they don't really focus on the kids at all. Or
No.
now that I think of it, they didn't even say what happened with the kids after they.
I'm assuming they're still okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so the cop, this guy John McClane, goes to see his wife, and then all of a sudden, you find out that they're not doing so well in their relationship because he was kind of a jerk, and she moved away to L.A. to pursue her career, and he couldn't leave his job in New York. So he eventually goes to visit his wife, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's just like a robbery or whatever, a big, giant, grand scale robbery. I forget the bad guy's name. I feel bad.
His name's Hans
Hans.
Gruber.
Yes.
Hans Gruber.
Hans.
It reminds me of Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But he's much worse bad guy. He's not as good as Hans Landa.
Yeah, Hans Landa was kind of nice. I'm joking. Anyway, so Hans has to. He's trying to steal all these ancient artifacts, right? Or these.
Well, and the stocks. The stocks are his main thing.
You're
that he
right.
wants
You're
to
right.
steal.
I was just thinking of the money
it's
overall.
$650 million worth of stocks that he's trying to steal from this company that owns the tower.
Now,
from
Ben and
what
I
understand.
we pointed out, Ben, that this thing would actually be this whole heist would be obsolete nowadays because stocks are electronic nowadays.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. This whole thing would be not how it is. I mean, I like robberies like this, even in banks and stuff, don't really happen on this large of a scale. I don't know whether they ever really happened, but uh, this whole stock thing, it seems like it didn't age well.
Yeah.
This movie is kind of like a Christopher Nolan movie without any of the complex narrative features.
Yeah, it's because it gets deeper and deeper into one specific like storyline, you know.
Yeah, well, there's no like Christopher Nolan always throws these twists with like complexities with like time travel or like something that, but they're sort of like movies where they steal things and there's lots of explosions.
Uh,
Like you see what I'm getting at? Like in Inception, they're like planting something in somebody's brain so he makes a business
and they just
decision.
keep going deeper into mines,
Yeah.
mines.
Yeah,
And
but
then in
it's
Tenet,
still sort of an SP, like a movie where they're like a what do they call it, like a heist movie,
a mind heist.
a mind heist. But and this is sort of a heist movie too, but of the same scale where there's lots of explosions and lots of action sequences. But the plot is like very linear. Like
Yeah.
there's like it goes in a straight line.
You're right. You're right.
And
It's very focused. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
There weren't many things that were outlandish or didn't get resolved at the end. Besides what happened to the kids, apparently.
Well, there are a few things that are outlandish, but they're like more because of like how
You're
realistic
right.
is that would happen.
Outlandish with regards to what the plot is focusing
with regards to the entire movie.
on. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so then, blah blah blah. A lot of.
Did we ever pick a quote of the movie?
Did we?
I don't think we did. But go on with the plot.
Oh, thank you, Ben. So Ben, this John character ends up saving the day with the help of another cop. What was the other cop's name? I feel horrible for not remembering these. What was the cop on the radio?
Shoot, I should know his name. Let me pull up the Wikipedia.
Anyway, so this
other cop.
guy helps him get through it. Nobody believes this guy because all the FBI comes in. They kind of make it worse, and
he's sort of a lower tier cop too. He's like a sergeant, so not as important.
And he ends up helping him, and John McClane ends up beating all these bad guys kind of by himself, basically. And his wife kind of helps like discreetly a little bit, and his wife is his wife kind of does a lot because she like intervenes for the people, for that pregnant lady and everything. And the movie just kind of resolves as the bad guys fight the good guy, and the good guy wins through violence. So
The guy's name is Al Powell, so Sergeant Powell.
okay.
And yeah, there's a lot of like parts where so they have this like well-designed plan. The terrorists who are led by Hans Gruber, they seem like they're set up as some sort of Eastern European terrorist organization that has some sort of political motivation, but they're revealed to be more of just thieves. They just want to steal money. That's all they really want. But they have this plan they need to break into this vault. So they have to set up the situation.
They're breaking into the movie vault.
The vault, yeah, the movie vault. It takes them a while to get in because obviously our vault is very well designed, and
By me.
They can drill through the first 6 layers, but the 7th layer has like something special, some sort of special protection that will make it impossible. So that's why Hans keeps saying they need a miracle, and it is Christmas time. As we mentioned, this is a Christmas movie.
That's what I mean. In the end, it's a Christmas miracle that this movie resolves by itself.
Yes. But because of that, they have to set up the hostage situation perfectly so they can stall the police enough to get through the vault. So, and they know what the FBI is gonna do. They know what the police are gonna try to do because they have like different things, and they like kind of trick them at their own game. Like when they send the hostages up to the roof at the end of the movie, but they don't send any of the terrorists up, so that they're sending in helicopters, quote unquote, to take the hostages, but really they're thinking, oh, we're going to shoot some of the terrorists. But none of the terrorists end up being up there. And then they end up blowing the entire roof off the building, which is not what they're expecting to be in the terrorist playbook that they have perfectly planned out by the FBI. So but because John McClane can throw off the plan enough by killing members of the terrorist unit from the inside, then eventually they're able to have enough things go their way to get the hostages safely out the building, and they end up killing pretty much all of the terrorists.
Yeah, that's true. I think John McClane definitely was the thing that made the balance scale go unbalanced in the direction of the cops, for sure. because it was very well plotted out by Hans. Hans had everything kind of set up, and John just being there was unexpected to Hans's plan, and kind of disrupted everything. So
Yes. He certainly did that.
you're out of breath.
Yeah, this movie does leave you out of breath because of
It's
how
breath.
many
It takes
action
you breath
sequences
away.
there are, which is pretty much the entire movie is action sequences.
Yeah,
which is
that's
what
true.
it's known for.
Yeah, I mean their marriage gets resolved through violence.
Yeah, that is one part of the movie that's very confusing. Is like their marriage was like in shambles at the start of the, or like it wasn't going well because
It was pretty much in shambles.
His
They were
wife
living in
had
two
taken
different
a
states
job.
on the other sides of countries.
Yeah,
of the
his wife had
country.
taken a job in L.A. He still worked for the NYPD, but he was coming to L.A. for Christmas because he's that, at least he has that much of a courtesy to try to be with his family on Christmas. But they're not divorced, but she's going by her maiden name and Miss. So
Hey,
there's some skepticism.
it's okay. It worked out for her. She got a promotion through this
Yes.
because her boss was shot.
Yeah, he died. That's the best way to get a promotion, right?
Beep. Insert
Yeah.
bad joke.
And so my quote of the movie,
Oh, you got one.
I
Sweet.
got one. I think this could be one of the quotes of the movie. Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho, written in blood on the guy's chest.
Oh yeah, that was actually good.
Yeah, that was kind of it.
That's when you know it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, like I was like, what better Christmas movie than there being a dead guy with ho 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 written on the bottom of his shirt in blood? Like that's the kind of Christmas movie I want to see, right?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Although it doesn't really focus on the true meaning of Christmas or anything like that.
It does. It has its own true meaning of Christmas. Violence solves problems.
Yeah, I mean that is problem with the core message of this movie is a lot of things are resolved through violence, and in real life, most of the time, violence isn't a very good answer to solving most problems.
Violence
especially
is an
marriages.
escalator.
Especially marriages. Marriages are usually only worsened through violence.
True.
Like this is the only scenario that I can think of that is not the case.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Argyle for being the best character in the movie.
He really was.
The limousine driver.
The first half of the movie, he was just kind of laughing his way through it, just like he not knowing what's going on, just in the limo, just singing to his songs, talking to girls, yada yada. And then he once he finds out, he like just kind of waits around in a parking garage for like a while doing nothing. And then he sees a guy trying to get away in one of the ambulances, and he just smashes his limo into this ambulance.
Yes.
So he'll probably lose his job.
He's probably one of a number of people who's going to lose his job at the
Yeah.
end of this movie. Like everybody, maybe. Like I'm
Yeah.
not sure how happy they actually were with John McClane or Al but
Even
mean,
the FBI made it worse, so I feel like they'll get reprimanded
like
at least.
maybe everybody who was involved in this situation is going to lose their job
Or
maybe
their
not
life.
all of the police officers because they weren't all in charge, but yeah, the people who didn't
Powell,
lose their
well,
life.
Officer, was it Powell?
Yeah.
He saved the day at the end. He shot that one Russian
That's
guy.
true. And he had a tragic incident in his past where he accidentally shot a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And that caused him to move to the desk because, that is an accident that will, mark the rest of your life. Definitely does not go away.
Which is
the
weird
guilt and
because
the
that is
feeling of
that is the exact storyline of Agent May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh,
She
really?
accidentally shot. She had to kill a kid, and then she went and worked a desk job for like a long time.
Yeah, I mean that's like there's a lot of trauma that comes from situations like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can understand why. We got an outsider review though, because we do want to remind the audience that
You can always be a,
pessimist,
of course.
and I feel like there's a lot to be pessimistic about this movie.
We should brand that. We should make T-shirts.
Yeah, that should be our first T-shirt.
Yeah.
You can always be a pessimist,
Yeah.
even though we have been rather friendly to some of the movies lately, but not too friendly. Like Shane was saying that 71 was a little low on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah.
Shane was
But
Mr. Stanhope's Ben's dad's friend that
Yeah.
watched
of course,
Planes,
our
Trains, and
scale, I will
Automobiles.
say, is very tough. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to score over an 80, even if you're a great movie.
I don't think I've had a score over 80
Donnie
still.
Dark was my second favorite movie, and I gave it an 84. So, I mean, what does it take to get a 90? I mean, I don't know.
A 90 is basically 100% on a test for us.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, you got to keep that in mind when you're listening to our scores. But in this movie, there was lots of explosions and lots of things damaged, and like an entire tower. I hope they had insurance on that tower.
Me
And
too.
if they did, I hope they had a Hedman Anglin insurance. If you don't know anything about HAA, they're known for saving people money on auto, home, and business insurance. And they would also love to help insure you against explosion damage if that is in your future, which hopefully it is not. But with properties, you know, unfortunately never know what tragic incidents could happen. And if you're not prepared, then you could be in for more misery after already experiencing the first misery. So don't put yourself in the situation where you have to experience double the misery. And call Hedman Anglin Agency at 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300. And if you do contact them, make sure to tell them that Ben and Zach influenced your decision in calling their agency and
Or
looking out for your best interest.
yes, of course. Or that Ben and Zach forced you to
Yeah.
get this.
One of the two. We will remove your access to the podcast. I'm just kidding. We couldn't do that.
This is about to be a hostage situation.
Yeah, there's also probably hostage insurance and ransom insurance if you're concerned about that. Hopefully you are not concerned about that.
Is there podcast insurance?
I mean, I feel like you could make insurance for anything, really.
Really?
Maybe.
Insurance for anything.
Well, it might be more like a business insurance.
Is there
but
such thing as like criminal insurance where you're insured if you're a criminal? Like if you're a
I feel like
criminal, you
could
get insured.
Probably find that on the dark web.
Like you automatically just stop becoming a
You know,
criminal because insurance covers the debt of immorality.
Yeah. Tangent, but have you ever heard of Action Park?
No, what's that?
It's this park in New Jersey that there's a movie based on it. I forget what the movie's called, but it might be called Action Park. And it was like the most illegal, like dangerous amusement park that there was. It was in New Jersey. 6 people died
Ooh,
from different accidents.
seriously?
Like, so it wasn't like an accident where 6 people died at once.
Within what time frame?
It wasn't super long. I'd have to get back to you on the exact.
But they
'cause I
kept
just
it
learned
open
about
after
this.
the first
They
5?
kept it open after many of the accidents.
Oh my.
And the way that they got around it with their insurance is that nobody would insure them, so they created their own offshores insurance company, and in the Cayman Islands, and then that was like their insurance, quote unquote. They even had their own fleet of ambulances because so many people got hurt at the park, and there was like mostly underage people working, and they were all serving alcohol, and they would like throw huge parties after the day was done, and all drink. So
New Jersey.
yeah, in New Jersey. And what did them in finally was the insurance fraud. Like that's what did them in.
Oh
Not
my.
any of the other stuff.
Wait, I think this is a true story. Please someone tell me if I'm wrong. But I think when they were looking for Ted Bundy, I think the way that they found him, I know it's a serial killer. I think it's Ted Bundy. I think the way that they found him is he was driving with his headlights off at night.
Yeah,
And-
I mean that would be believable.
And that's how they found him.
Because yeah, that's the thing. They can't just pull you over for nothing. But if they happen to pull you over because you weren't obeying a traffic law, like
Yeah.
and then they find out that you're a criminal, then they can arrest you. So, if
It's weird how the legal system works because you got to find like some small minor detail to sometimes create a little pathway so you can get like the big main
Yeah.
problem out of the way.
that could be a problem occasionally because they could, kind of get that minor thing.
Is O.J.
and
Simpson
sorta-
too controversial?
Sort of unethically, yeah. If they get the minor thing sort of unethically, like the officer sort of plant something, or
Yeah.
I mean, planting evidence is a thing that happens, I'm sure, just so they can get you. Like, I mean, they do set up people with undercover cops though, and that's not illegal.
I guess.
But it's a complicated situation.
I have a friend.
None
who's-
of that mattered in this movie.
That's
Go
true.
ahead.
Well, I have a friend who's a cop, and he said that like you know how you can film cops,
Yeah.
like you're allowed to, but like if someone is filming a cop and it disrupts the cop's job, then they're allowed to take it away in Ohio at least.
Oh.
So like
okay.
if someone's filming right in their face as they're arresting someone, he can take that phone and like reprimand
Okay.
it.
So if
reprimand
you
her.
are concerned and you're wanting to film the cop, do not put the phone
Yeah.
right in his face.
And keep a good 6 feet too.
Yeah.
Just like
Just-
for more than one reason.
But in Die Hard, the cops
They don't even know what smartphones are.
They don't even know what smartphones are. They definitely don't know about the whole 6 feet thing. It's 1988.
I don't know. There could be some wizards.
And also, this is pre 9/11, so the whole airport scene where he's carrying a gun, and the tower exploding in a movie, that could be a little bit more sensitive nowadays.
That's true. That is surprising.
What happened in 9/11?
There was a movie that they filmed in 2001 that they were going to release in 2001, like in December or November, and then 9/11 happened before that, and there was a scene where a plane crashes into like a really tall building, and they took that whole scene out of the movie, which is like really understandable. But
yeah,
like,
that's definitely understandable.
But it was like I thought it was so interesting because like how it influences everything, including movies. Anyway,
all right, let's get into the score and our score of Die Hard. So,
which we still don't know what the title means. Well, we have theories.
Yes, we'll get into the theories, I guess.
Okay.
So, what would you give this movie sentimentally?
I gave it, and please nobody hurt me. I gave it a 6.
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sort of on the fence, but I gave it a 7 because I think I had a good time watching this movie.
I definitely did.
I feel like it's an important movie. So that kind of helps me out. And Bruce Willis, he was enjoyable in this movie. So
back when Bruce Willis had hair, I like him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was interesting. And this is definitely the movie that got him going. But it's an action movie. Like most movies that just have explosions as their main draw aren't that interesting because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
But this one was pretty interesting throughout, even though it was explosions were such an important part.
Well, have you ever seen The Sixth Sense?
Yes.
So he does pretty good with non-action specific movies too. He's a really good actor in general. I'd say.
Bruce Willis is. He did break out of this typecast a little bit. I think, especially with that movie.
Yeah.
Because he was very good in that movie. Maybe Haley Joel Osment stole the spotlight. But
yeah, for sure. I think so.
He still showed he had acting chops. I always love when they let an actor go out of their typecast.
We talked about this last week. Well, who was that?
A bunch of people last week, like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey. Who last week? We were talking about how Steve Martin was slightly different.
Yes, Steve Martin.
But this one is definitely like Bruce Willis in his normal element. Like this is like iconic Bruce Willis material. How about Message?
Message, I give it a 5.
I also gave Message a 5.
Okay. So I think we already talked about this. It's mainly because we said violence solves everything.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily believe that.
I can see a few of the messages with Sergeant Powell. I think the relationship between Sergeant Powell and
a man's word is worth
John
stuff.
McClane.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the most interesting part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, but there's not
much to talk about.
Message.
Yeah. What about character arcs?
I gave it a 4.
Seriously, I gave it a 6.
Okay.
I mean, it's not high for me.
I might be going a little low here, but I didn't necessarily find too many of the character arcs that interesting.
Yeah.
Or the character arcs with John and his wife kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. I just thought with a movie so action saturated, I thought that they did a good job with Officer Powell. He was afraid of that.
That's true. He was the highlight.
Yeah, that's why I gave it a 6. Maybe I'm like judging it 2 points higher than yours because of that certain character. Yeah. But I agree. Like the whole marriage storyline just being resolved through everything was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
I wish that worked in real life. No, I don't. I don't want violence to happen.
I mean, it feels like she's like, oh wow, he's willing to sacrifice a lot for me, but he's also an officer doing his job is in his mind.
Yeah, but let her think what she wants.
Yeah. I guess let her think what she wants. Okay.
Happy wife, happy life. Happy husband, something else.
Something else. What are we thinking in terms of plot?
I gave plot an overall 6.
I gave it a 6 too.
I just thought it was solid. It was a solid plot, It was one of the first good action movies and everything. It was just solid. So.
Yeah, and I think the bad guys, the terrorists, whatever, their plan was pretty interesting to watch unfold.
Yeah, you don't really know what they're going at until they kind of reveal more and more of what they're doing in the movie. I guess. Yeah,
and you're like, why do they have all these explosives? What are they gonna do with them? So that's interesting. It's a very straightforward plot, but there's enough little twists to keep you engaged.
Yeah. It was good when they tricked the FBI into following terrorist protocol.
Yeah.
And then they turn off all the power in that 10 block area, and then the power turning off is what actually opens the 7th layer of the safe.
I mean, that's like the like knowledge that they have. They're very intelligent criminals.
Yeah, they're being intentional with everything that they did, which was important. So
yes, even though they are not as good at fighting, because like the one guy killed most of them.
Mm-hmm.
How about originality?
Originality, I gave it. I'm changing it. I'm giving it a 7.
I still have it as a 6, but I understand the 7.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I had it as a 6 in here, but you're right. At its time, I think, as you said in the beginning, you said it was one of those first
I'm
action
being really
types.
inconsistent. I think I need to change it to a 7.
Yeah.
Because with all that I said about it being a top notch, I don't know that I can fairly say that and then also not give it a 7.
Yeah.
You know? So
So here's Ben cheating.
We are breaking protocol.
Oh
Because,
no.
yeah, I'm cheating and changing, but I feel like because of what I said earlier in the podcast, I have to be consistent as a person. I can't just say, "Wow, this is such an influential movie," and then give originality a 6. You know?
And if he's wrong, he'll learn and grow as a human, as long as
Yeah.
he's a good, consistent human.
Yeah, I mean, we strive for consistency on the show, but we fail just like everything else in
But
life.
we consistently fail, and that's what matters.
Yes, that is absolutely what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So originality, yeah, I mean, like this is probably influenced by certain things, but in a lot of ways, the like
Big action sequences.
big action sequences in a constrained area too, like the whole
It all takes place in one setting.
in one setting. Yeah. What other movies are like take place in one setting?
Saw,
Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting
which
one.
came out after.
Yeah, much later.
I don't know. Why? I guess I just can't think, but there are many, many, many.
Movies that happen in one area. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I'm exactly
Although,
interested.
when I think of the movie Saw, I think that movie was cool because it's the first type of horror movie that kind of gets creative with its setting, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because they use that room, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's not what this is about. But they use the room in such a way that everything in the room kind of matters, even though it's like a really crappy, disgusting room. And I don't recommend seeing this movie because it's a really disgusting movie, and it's really bad. But it is very interesting in the way that they use the setting in that one.
Oh, are you talking about Saw?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. The Saw is not, and all accounts should not be that good of a movie. Like, it's super low budget. The acting is subpar.
The acting's terrible.
Yeah, subpar. One of the worst performances from who's the one guy who's somewhat famous? He was in like that thing with Mel Gibson. He was in.
I don't know.
Yeah, he just gives in the worst, like most phoned in performance.
Was he one of the two guys in the room?
He was the detective guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, there were only like 3 characters in the movie. So
Yeah.
they were all not that great.
Danny Glover, that's who I'm talking about.
Donald Glover?
No, Danny Glover. Different.
Isn't that just his nickname?
No, this is way before Donald Glover was famous. Danny Glover, who is an accomplished actor, was the only accomplished actor in that movie, and he was not that good. And there's a bunch of movies here that are after. I found this list on filmschoolrejects.com that are like movies that are really similar to Die Hard, and there's a lot of them. Like The Rock,
Yeah.
which is a Michael Bay movie, is listed on here. Air Force One of those Tom Clancy movies. Con Air with Nicolas Cage. Like, so many of these movies. Skyscraper, the Dwayne Johnson movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's one area. That's so much like Die Hard, actually.
That's true.
That might
yeah.
be the best example of a movie that... And it's not exactly the same scenario, but it's like, without Die Hard, that movie probably wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But influential, original for its time. So, high marks in that regard. But we have to go back to our list.
Yeah. Tangent.
Tangent. We're getting on a lot of tangents today.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's a good thing, though.
Sure.
I like that.
Maybe.
We'll see whether the people like that.
Yeah,
But
it's not up. It's
personally,
not
I
up
like
to
it.
us if it's a good thing. Actually, it is. It's a good thing. Listen to
Believe
us
it.
more.
Believe in your mind that this is a good thing. If you were complaining about it, just take a deep breath. And
We
be
should
like,
do an
"This
outside
is
the
good."
vault of hypnotism. See if we can hypnotize our viewers into doing whatever we want.
Imagine me swinging a gold chain back and forth in front of your
And
eyes.
listening to the soft voice.
Although when they did that in Donnie Darko, it always turned out super weird, so I don't know whether I wanted that to happen.
All right, next thing.
Okay, acting.
I'm gonna regret this, but 6.
I also gave it a 6. Okay, the thing with this movie is
It's polar.
I feel like the acting is good, but like Bruce Willis is good, but you know
There aren't many situations where they can show their acting depth.
no, there's not.
So,
I mean, the guy who plays Hans is somewhat interesting, I guess.
but the writers don't give them enough, like, not time, but they don't flesh out the characters or give them situations where they have to make super tough decisions. All the decisions that they make are like really straightforward, like, yes, I should do
And
this.
a lot of the acting is like physical acting, which doesn't necessarily fall into this category as much. Like that's more choreography. So
Yeah.
that's the reason that I think it's a little bit lower. Even though there's so many people who are good. Now, if you think about the actors, we were talking about Bruce Willis. Like, he's done much better things acting than this movie. Like we said with The Sixth Sense. Also, he's in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, which you love to mention that movie.
Yes, every podcast now I'm going to mention it. No, not really, but he's really good in that movie, and he plays such a different character. So and that any Tarantino movie, actors have so much more opportunity to flesh out their character and say witty lines.
Yeah.
Although think about all the iconic lines that he said though in this movie.
Yeah, which are not appropriate enough.
Yeah, that
Not-
we can't really say on this podcast, but they are iconic nonetheless.
Yes, yippee-ki-yay.
So this was one I could see an argument for people being mad at us for it being low, but we will bring on the arguments. We will fight you in the emails that
Because
you send
in
us.
the end, we're right and you're wrong.
Yes, because we're pessimists, so we're looking at the negative side more than we're looking at the positive side.
If there are ranges for this movie to be scored by, like, let's say this movie could be scored 50 to 100% based on the type of fan, we're always going to choose the 50. Maybe we'll give it a 51.
Yeah.
But that's when we're happy, and I'm not happy.
Neither am I. For some reason, happiness is not something I want to feel right now. you
Yeah,
know?
let's just not feel it, man.
I just watched explosions. That's not happy.
Makes me angry.
Yeah, it makes me want
I
to.
feel so much rage.
Yeah. And it makes me want to criticize the style of the movie.
Yeah, it just makes me want to criticize and
Which I
overanalyze
gave
this
a
movie.
7, which
Oh.
is kind of high actually.
I gave it a 6.
I think the style's good in this movie, and the element of the Christmas part, which I was like, people are like, oh, this is a Christmas movie. I thought that was kind of like, oh yeah, it's set during Christmas, but there are more parts than I expected that were like Christmas themed.
I think it's funny because it's just they totally forced that in there. It was not natural at all for it to be a Christmas
Like
movie.
this had to be released during Christmas.
It's
though.
funny because I keep saying it's funny because it really is funny though because it's not even in a setting where there would be snow.
No, and they're playing "Let It Snow" at the end of the movie during the credits. That doesn't make any sense.
So the Christmas part was really forced. And wait, what day did this movie come out on?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
What
when was Die Hard released?
Release date? Because if it was
July.
Oh
This
my
movie was
goodness.
released in freaking July.
So why did they? There was no need for that Christmas insert.
Now, I always thought this was like a movie that came out December 25th, and it was like everyone was like, "Oh, it's an action movie, but it's Christmas." But it came out July 15th.
Yeah, that is strange for.
I might take off style. I won't, but I would consider taking off style points just for that.
That is strange for two reasons: that a Christmas movie was released in July, and that the fact that they made this a Christmas movie and it's not set in a place where Christmas would be like really acknowledged.
Did they like advertise this as like Christmas in July? I know why they released it in July, because this is absolutely a summer blockbuster type movie.
It is,
like
yes.
a movie that they release in the summer for people to come watch. But they said it at Christmas, and of all the places they could have said Christmas at, they said it in Los Angeles, California. They didn't go to New York, where, probably because the skyscrapers are too close together. Maybe like this tower was kind of like out of Los Angeles.
I don't know. I'm gonna stop questioning it.
Yeah, you just gotta roll with it, I guess. I would argue it's a Christmas movie, but knowing this makes me less confident of that fact.
Hey, but we're reviewing it close to Christmas, and we're always right, so it's
Yeah,
a
that's
Christmas
why we
movie.
reviewed it now, because it's like right the week 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, and do you think John McCain was in politics back then? Do you think John McClane was based off of John McCain? Or do you think that because the director's name is John...
McIntyre?
Yeah, so
McTerrain. What am I even saying?
do you think
I don't
he
know how to pronounce his last name.
do you
Really.
think he just mixed his own name with John McCain
I
to
don't
make
know.
John McClane?
Was John McClane based on John McCain? We'll find out. Because Google knows everything, right?
Sure. I mean, John McCain would have been... I mean, I know he died 2 years ago, or a year ago. But he would have still been older than John McClane, I think.
Oh man, Google tried to mess up my
Because
search.
Bruce Willis is old, but he's not as old as John McCain was.
Vulture.com released an article in 2007 called John McClane versus John McCain. Who's more electable? I bet they said John McClane knowing Vulture. We don't get too deep into politics on this podcast, though, so John McClane very well might have been a better candidate, but I'm not really sure.
I don't know. Is the Vulture always correct? We don't know.
I doubt that Vulture is also correct. Also is correct about that many things as well. So both the Vulture article is wrong, and I just want both sides to be wrong in this argument.
So then you can
So
be
John
right
McClane
by
and
saying
John
that they're
McCain
both
are
wrong.
That way, nobody can argue with me because I'm not taking a side on the argument. I'm just saying both arguments are wrong.
Which is how you win arguments.
Yes.
By taking all sides and none at the same time.
Yeah, that's the way. People don't know this. They're like, I have to take a side, which obviously, I mean, I would actually take a side
Sometimes.
in arguments that I felt like I have a basis to put my side on. Being a Christian, my basis would be the Bible.
Of course.
But if I'm just in some random argument that I feel like is not like everything can always come back to the Bible. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, like John McCain versus John McClane. I will just say both are wrong because I'm probably right about that. And
You
then
can
it's
just
easy.
assume it too.
Yeah,
So it's just an assumption that is always correct.
yeah. The more times that you argue that both things are wrong, the better, right? I mean, that's the way I see it.
And if we're talking right now and we disagree, our fans can say that we're both wrong.
Because then you can say that some obscure third party is right because that doesn't exist.
You can
So
even
then-
if it does
then-
exist, you
So
can just say that
if
it
doesn't
exists.
exist, you could always say it's better because it's just out there in the void. So
Because you can always be a pessimist, thinking
Yeah.
what you have isn't the best.
yeah, it's not good enough.
You can always improve.
The options you have are not good options ever. Okay, that's not true.
No,
I just made
ever.
a generalization. I just committed a logical fallacy.
Oh no. So you're wrong too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're getting really sidetracked. We need to get to score.
Score, I gave it a 6.
I give it a 7. I like the Christmas music, I guess.
Yeah, I liked it. It just wasn't fitting for me. But I liked that it wasn't fitting for me.
Again, I feel like I'm not the best at noticing scores unless it's like Baby Driver and there's a lot of like songs that I like.
Yeah, soundtrack
So
stuff.
maybe
So we
it's-
kind of group soundtrack and score together.
Yeah, because
So.
some movies don't really have that much of a soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
This movie did a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the score's not too much to talk about.
Yeah.
How about choreography finally?
Choreography, I gave a 7.
I gave it a 9. This is excellent choreography.
Okay, yeah.
I think, especially considering the time it was in, lots of.
You're right. Considering the time that it was in, I would probably give it a higher.
I think now if you were watching like a new Mission Impossible movie, you'd probably be like, that has better choreography than this. But this was like what influenced that style of choreography existing in the first place.
There was a
So-
scene that you pointed out, Ben, or possibly it was David, that we said when the Russian guy or whoever was on the chain and he
Oh,
just
he
keeps
was
going on the
hanging.
chain. That was cool. That was good
That was
choreography.
cool. But I don't.
And somehow
understand
he
how
survives.
He came back at the end of the movie and almost killed them. But that's not. I mean, that's not. I mean, whatever. It's an action movie. Things.
It's
like that
It's a
happen.
Christmas miracle.
Yeah, there was multiple Christmas miracles that happened in this movie. So total scores, I gave it 64%.
I gave it a 61.
So
We weren't that far off.
again, we are not that far off.
That's why we need a third party to disagree with us,
Yeah.
just like we just mentioned with us being both wrong.
I need somebody who really loves Die Hard or really hates Die Hard to give me your score. Yeah, that's what you guys should email us your scores. Your 10-point. Take all of the categories Make your own 10-point scores and send them in.
That's going to be our hypnotism project.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's getting people to email us. We have gotten more emails, though.
We actually have. I think it's okay if I read part of what I said. We got, from one of our new friends, Brian, we got an email talking about, in response to a couple of our podcasts, actually, but in mainly response to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct about that.
I read it, and he talks about Roman Polanski and how he isn't barred from the country, as we mentioned. He fled the country and will most likely be arrested if he ever returns. Yeah. And I think that was something that we mentioned incorrectly.
So that's a correction of I said that the United States had banned Roman Polanski, but that's not exactly correct. He just doesn't want to face the court in his case because he was involved in some allegedly illicit activity that would, if he actually did what he's accused of, he would rightfully be put behind bars. Mm-hmm. However, for some reason, France likes him and does not want to extradite them from his country, so he remains there and has released many popular movies since then, including The Pianist, which I believe was nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah.
So whether or not Roman Polanski is a good person, he probably isn't, because most people in Hollywood will disappoint you. Most people in general, because everybody is flawed. But I mean, what he did is if he did it, is pretty bad. So we are like, I don't know that it's a good thing that he's still able to make movies, but he is.
Yeah, I don't know. And Brian also said that he talks about how he likes the movie Death Proof. And so I'm actually going to watch that movie just because he said that. Yeah, I want to watch
Death Proof too.
And then he also said that we speak very intelligently of these movies. And I don't know, Brian, I might disagree with you on that sometimes.
Yeah, this is something that I think you can watch thousands of movies and never know whether you're speaking intelligently. But what we do is just try to
rate movies,
observational skills, and just
we created this. We created the 10-point system to sound smart.
Yeah, really, the 10-point system is as flawed as a 1 to 10 scale that just generally rates the movies, but it doesn't seem as flawed because it's still sort of subjective, but it just takes some of the subjectivity out of it.
Although we do really appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Yes, we definitely appreciate that.
And also, I think we should name our 10-point system at some point. If anyone has any ideas.
Yeah, that would actually be really.
So
helpful.
Then it sounds like we can make it official, like a real system.
We can put that on a shirt too.
Sure.
I rate Zach a 0 out of 100 on the 10-point scale.
Yeah, sold out.
Sentiment, obviously 0. Message, when has Zach ever said anything with a good message? I'm just kidding.
Cinematography, 10.
Cinematography, 10. Style,
0.
10 when Chris buys him stuff.
Yeah, my friend Chris got me a nice Armani Exchange shirt today.
Now his style's a 10.
Yep. I cannot afford an Armani Exchange shirt on my own, so I need my friends to help me out.
Yeah, it's good he has good friends. Otherwise, you would have no style.
Yep.
That's actually probably really true. That when we were in Panama, you got some stuff from the mall that was picked out by some of our friends.
One of the translators that lives in Panama, his name was Charlie, and he helped me pick out a new outfit in Panama.
You know, it'd be cool if we got like Charlie or Diego or one of those guys on
to zoom us on
this. Zoom onto the podcast.
That'd be cool.
Well, that's.
But now we're being too meta on the podcast. Now we're just talking like we're off the podcast.
We're talking about things that nobody has any idea about. But shout out to those two guys; they're cool.
Thank you.
Brita moments. Brita moments with Brita
Perry.
What's that? You're gonna say, "Wow, that stunk. He's not a good singer. That was a terrible jingle." That's the point, because Brita sucks, and I'm not giving her the satisfaction of having a good theme song.
Amen. I hate her.
Yeah.
But as a human, she has value.
But she's not a real human.
So she doesn't have value.
Exactly. Do fake characters on TV shows have value?
Do robots have that are sentient, do they have rights?
That sounds like an outside the vault topic to me.
I actually listened to another podcast that talks about that. It's really interesting.
No, that is definitely an interesting question, especially with like cloning and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they should be making more.
I'm learning about cloning in school.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That is fascinating.
It is really interesting. I was thinking about going into it, but there's just so many dirty things that you can get away with in cloning.
The problem with cloning is there's just so many ethical concerns. And even if you had a perfect ethical system, you know that people would break it.
Mm-hmm.
The question is always, progress is achievable, but just because it's achievable doesn't mean that it should happen. But also, can you stop it from happening?
Because people will be curious and
Because
they
people
won't
are
have
too
nothing to stop
curious.
them.
I mean, there's so many movies about that. I mean, that topic in terms of sci-fi. Of like, that's basically what Jurassic Park is.
Cloning would need its own constitution of rules. That's how many rules you would need to specify.
Yeah. But some countries aren't going to obey the Constitution.
And they would need their own enforcements.
Yeah. It's a difficult concept. But again,
But it is real, which is
Yeah.
very I don't know, it's eye-opening.
yeah. So, but back to Brita moments, because I don't think they cloned anyone in this movie. Even though
No.
It's a fascinating
No.
topic.
I think a poor moment would have been how quickly we've talked about this, how quickly the marriage thing was solved. I would say some of the acting, specifically with the writers not giving enough room for character development as such, and another thing might be, that might be it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's kind of strange, the whole scene at the end where they are setting the hostages up, and then they're... Why does the FBI... What is the FBI's plan? Because I explained it during the plot summary, but I found it confusing when I was explaining it. So they're trying to shoot the terrorists on the building, but why do they think the terrorists are coming up?
They just assumed because
And they
they're
were
just
like,
following
they
that.
were like, okay, they were like, we're probably going to kill 25% of the hostages, and they were like, yeah, that's cool. I feel like that shouldn't be your second option on your playbook as killing 25% of the people.
Well, they were assuming that because they were just following the handbook of terrorism or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that is just like, does the FBI really play it like that?
Like,
Or
dude,
are they just
do you
so-
really need to go through all of these secret agent trainings to become an FBI agent just to follow a playbook?
Yeah, because I feel like so much they're supposed to be better than the police.
They're
Because
supposed
they
to
are
have
more
intuition,
adaptable.
and they're supposed to have their own choices influenced on past
I think
experiences.
this movie just proved that sometimes people in leadership positions aren't the smartest people. They just knew how to play the game.
They get it through
and-
nepotism or favoritism or just
they
through
know how to climb up the
dumb
ladder.
luck.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that they know how to do their jobs well. Because I don't think anybody in a leadership position high up in the FBI or the police did a good job in this movie.
Mm-mm.
But that wouldn't have helped the plot if they did.
True, but they made everything worse at every
Yeah.
moment.
And I think that is true in real life to some degree in
Yeah.
a lot of things.
I mean, we're not going to get into talks about police or anything like that, but I do think that there are some instances, like you said,
Yeah.
that it would just be authoritative figures aren't doing
Well,
the right
just,
thing.
and it's not just in the law enforcement; it's anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Anywhere that there's authority, because obviously, power corrupts people to some degree,
Mm-hmm.
it's just power just corrupts people. So
You're
it's
right.
Just how much are you going to?
We shouldn't categorize people into certain job descriptions, saying like these people with these jobs.
Yeah,
and-
because I think the same problem is in all of them is just the ability to have power, and the temptation to abuse it is just there for anybody who is given any amount of power. Like we have power on this podcast
To say whatever we
to
want,
say
but
what
we
we want.
restrain from
and
cursing.
when we we do that, and we try to restrain.
Not that we naturally do it, but we're just saying,
Yeah, and we try to restrain from other things too. But I mean, I'm sure we're not perfect, but everybody has a certain level of power. Man, we're getting into some really deep things.
Yeah.
I guess Die Hard is really just a movie that draws those things out of you.
I don't know.
That's not a Brita moment. That's
We've had 4 realizations of different tangents we've taken, and then we become meta every time we talk about those tangents.
yeah. Well, that's because that's our favorite thing. We just want to be meta. That's why
Like
we started
Abed.
the podcast. Yeah, we're just Troy and Abed. That's who we want to be.
Which one's Troy? Which one's Abed?
I feel like you're Abed and I'm Troy. Like that makes the most sense.
The only thing is, like, I'm not all the way Abed, and you're not all the way Troy at all.
Well, definitely not, because how could you fit into 2 specific characters perfectly?
I have more awareness than Abed, and you have less. You have more awareness than Troy. Basically, we both have more
I
awareness.
feel like in some ways I identify with Troy because I wanted to be a jock, and I realized that really I'm more of a nerd.
Yeah, community
Because
college football.
Who am I joking with? I literally have a podcast about movies. How could I argue with anyone who called me a nerd?
Yeah, and
Like,
then I'm
I make
Abed.
spreadsheets.
I guess
Keeping
I
track of
relate
things.
with Abed because I do talk about everything very straightforward, and I'm very blunt.
Yeah.
And I think of things logically.
And
But
you don't have as much emotional attachment to
yes,
things.
you're right. I don't. So I'm sorry, but if someone has a problem with me, I don't care.
Yeah.
Or as some, maybe I do. Maybe I
You
don't.
tell
Maybe
him.
I do.
You tell him, Queen.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thank you, man. Thank you, Troy.
That's something Troy would say, right? No, probably not.
I don't know.
But,
I mean, I wouldn't be
but
surprised
this
with
is
the new
kinda-
writers
we
at the end.
We should have called the show Ben and Zach in the morning, I guess.
That would have been a good one, but I like the movie Vault.
I like the movie Vault gets straight to the point, I think.
Did
which
we
is
ever
more-
talk about why we called it the movie? Let's talk about that in our Outside the Vault, though.
Yeah,
You'll have to find out by listening to Outsider Vault,
Yeah.
viewers.
But Stock Market by Bruce Willis, obviously.
No, I think watching this movie back then, I probably wouldn't.
Really?
Because
But
I wouldn't.
You have to know this movie was so successful. He's gonna do 4 more Die Hards.
I know, but I invest
But you
in
would-
what I believe in.
You wouldn't believe in him being a successful actor outside of the Die Hard
Correct,
franchise.
correct.
Which
And I think
He ended up being.
getting a big break in a movie like this can lead you or set you up for success. But I would not think in this movie through watching it that Bruce Willis would be successful as he is today.
Yeah. You wouldn't think he's gonna be the guy in Ocean's 12 who's playing himself and pretending to be friends with Julia Roberts, who's doing this meta interpretation. You remember that scene from Ocean's 12 where Julia Roberts is like, she plays a character in Ocean's 12, but then she plays Julia Roberts. She plays her character pretending to be Julia Roberts in the movie. It's insane.
I have not seen Ocean's 12.
Okay, sorry I ruined that part, but Bruce Willis is a part
That's
of
okay. I wasn't planning on watching it.
that. Sorry for anybody who I ruined Ocean's 12 for, but if you like Ocean's 11,
You should put in the description, spoiler alert for Ocean's 12.
spoiler alert for Die Hard and Ocean's 12.
And somewhat
Also, the
other
fact that
movies.
they made like how many movies? Die Hard. They had Die Hard 2, whatever that was called.
Die Harder. The other one's like Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
And then there's like a 4 and a 5, I forget.
yeah, but like, how did they make 5 of these?
Do they just
This doesn't seem like a scenario that happens too often.
this he's like, "Oh, it's the 5th time I get stuck in my 5th hostage situation. I can't believe this happened."
Yeah, he's like, why does this follow me around everywhere? Or is he just like the Die Hard? Or not the Die Hard. He's just like the hostage situation guy. So anytime there's a hostage situation, they send him in.
It would be cool if in the 5th movie it's revealed that he was the one planning all of these hostage situations.
Just so he could become a hero. There's also, after Die Hard 2 and Die
That's
Hard
like
with a Vengeance, there's also Live Free or Die Hard and A Good Day to Die Hard.
You know what I just said about him actually being the bad guy? Isn't that what Mysterio did?
Yes.
He tricks
That's
the
literally what
world
Mysterio
and sets
did.
up these big scenarios where he fights bad guys so that he can be seen as the hero and take on the mantle.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like the definition of a try-hard.
Try hard, die hard.
Try-hard, die hard.
The next movie
this
should
is-
be
John
called Try
McClane
Hard.
is a try-hard.
Honestly, yeah.
That's what the one guy who sort of betrayed him and he got shot.
Oh,
Ellis,
he was a try hard. He was trying to
he
get
was
with his
actually a
wife,
try-hard.
I think.
He's trying so hard to get with
Wait,
her.
what was his name? Will? Or
Yeah.
not Will? No, it was Elliot. I don't
Ellis.
know.
It was Ellis.
Ellis. Yes, I knew it had 2
But
L's
he
and
had
an
no chance,
L.
and he was literally the most annoying person. I don't know how I ever thought that
And he was too overconfident with people that had guns in the room.
Well, he's definitely the businessman person because he was like
Trying to
he was
persuade.
so confident in himself being able to negotiate with. But these people, he banked too much on his wit to get him by. But when he didn't do exactly what they wanted, he's gone in a flash.
Yeah, when you bring in wit, you have to show results fast. You can't just bring in wit and then delay your results.
Because you're acting like a salesman where you're overly confident in something. So it's sort of like a fake it till you make it type thing. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that all salesmen are like that. I'm just saying that's a thing that could happen with salesmen. Is
But the fact that
they
he
could
put
display
himself-
confidence to try to sell something.
Yeah. But the fact that he put himself out there and kind of put a face to a name, and he basically went up to them and introduced himself. He kind of just basically dug his own grave.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy what he did.
It's stupid.
It's crazy, and he didn't even show an ounce of fear or anything. He was,
Which is good, of course.
confidence.
You don't want to
So
show
confident.
fear. Fear is weakness.
Yeah, fear is weakness. Yeah, then you've already given them the upper hand. So in some ways, he was smart. He did know those things. Everyone else from this movie, including the director, I'm not sure that I would have invested in. I don't even know that I would have invested in the franchise. I would not have invested in the franchise.
I would not have. I would have to. I have
think
to
it was
believe in it.
successful, but I don't really believe in it, even though I think the franchise was successful. Because why is it successful? Like this.
Well, according to us, it's not because we gave it a 61%
Yeah.
and 64. So wait, the average is 62.5. So yeah, that's not successful to us.
No, this movie should be way, way. I mean, there should not be. I don't know what I'm.
Look,
trying
I
to say.
think Rotten
I
Tomatoes.
just don't think that the sequel should have been successful because like this should be a one-off movie, and the only reason it's not a one-off movie is because
Cha-ching.
anything that makes a bunch of money, they always make more of in Hollywood. That's one thing you can always guarantee. If it makes a certain amount of money, there will always be a sequel, pretty much.
Which
Unless
is
the director
really
has a lot
annoying.
of control and doesn't
That's
want to do it.
that's probably the biggest fault. Well, there are lots of faults in Hollywood, specifically with the people that run Hollywood. But that's one of the biggest faults in movies, is in movie making decisions, is whether or not you expand on what you already made or you leave it as it is. Like when I see all this Marvel stuff coming out, they just announced, in Star Wars, they just announced 9 new Star Wars shows 2 days ago, and like 6 new Marvel shows on top of. There are 27 new Marvel entities, like Marvel types of things, coming in the next 3 years.
That is absolutely insane.
No, 4
And
years. 4
You
years.
just wonder, with the Marvel train, Marvel has undeniably been the most successful franchise in the last decade. Since Iron Man came out in 2008, nothing has been able to top Marvel. But everything has to end. But the question is, when is it going to end?
Look, I'm okay with them expounding upon it.
And when I say end, I know it's not going to end like in terms of them releasing stuff, but end in terms of the dominance that it displays.
You're right, yeah.
In theaters and.
But if you
and
think,
such.
also Star Wars has been around longer, but they're also getting like a revival as well with the Mandalorian.
Yeah, but more people are like annoyed at Star Wars.
You're right, but I think Mandalorian is kind of bringing some of that hype back up.
That's true. And there's 10 new Star Wars shows.
Yep, you're right. 10 new
So-
Star Wars shows.
Star Wars and Marvel are just franchises that are so big that there's so much potential to expound upon things. They're almost they have become their own genre
We need to have
of movies.
I'll tell you after. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone that just heard me and Ben talk about something that wasn't even something that you're gonna
sorry
hear.
that the stock market section was boring this week because I just don't feel like there's too much. Like that's kind of sad. Like the guy who played Argyle, I don't think he really did anything else.
But he was in the movie Die Hard, so that's a success for me.
Yeah, I mean that's more successful than I am by a long shot.
No, we're the co-creators of the movie vault, Ben.
Yeah, maybe we have a better plan for long-term success though.
We are the co-creators of the movie vault.
Yeah, and I think Alan Rickman he was interesting as Hans, but nobody really stuck out, and the director didn't, and the franchise doesn't. So that's that. Feedback we already mentioned. We already sort of did that with the
Yeah, we
email.
got an email from Shane and then the email from Brian.
Yeah, an email from Shane was very encouraging.
Mhm.
He thought that the review went well, and he listened to it a couple times. So yeah, we appreciate what Shane's insight.
I
and
can't believe
Brian's
someone can
insight.
listen to us more than once.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
We appreciate it. Of course we do, but like I get annoyed at my own voice.
Yeah, I listened to this once and I'm good because I have to edit it, and yeah, that's just.
Some of them I don't even listen to all the way. I get to like the last couple minutes and I'm like, I can't take it.
Yeah.
My voice
I
is so
have gotten
annoying.
used to listening to my own voice, but if you ever get into this medium, that's probably one of the biggest things you'll have to overcome. Is
Oh, I
like
hate it.
the uncomfortableness with your own voice.
That brings out my worst insecurities, my vocal cords. It's what I'm most insecure about.
Yes. And Shane got
Yes.
into a lot of interesting things.
What did he say?
Because he talked about the history of Kevin Bacon. Oh yeah, how we're too young to know the history of Kevin Bacon. But you were right, he wasn't Footloose. I did check that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we watch mostly movies that are current, and a lot of those movies are in the 80s.
We have watched a lot of older movies lately.
So he is correct in saying that we missed some of the evolution of this comedy that led to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Our strength is not, when we review older movies, is not going to be to tell you that like how exactly, like with Die Hard, you can tell that I'm saying this is revolutionary, but I also don't know the movies.
We didn't live through it. Living through it is something different.
Yeah.
But I would assume the Kevin Bacon thing is like our modern day would be like Stan Lee, seeing in him in something and laughing at it. Like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because anybody who makes a cameo who's well known.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he also said Zach's 71% is evidence. Like he thinks the history. Like you don't understand the history.
Yeah.
That's why you gave it a low score.
Yeah.
But he also said that that shows his lack of appreciation for like older movies like The Gone with the Wind and 2001: A Space Odyssey and Taxi Driver.
I've
So,
actually seen Gone with the Wind. I like that movie. We
yeah,
had to watch
and
that
I
in
like
school
Taxi
once.
Driver. Taxi Driver is one
I
of
have
my
not
favorite
seen
movies.
that though, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I would like to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey because Stanley Kubrick is.
But yeah, no,
amazing.
I agree with you that we not living through some of these movies does put a different perspective on our generation.
That's why we had my dad on, honestly,
Mhm.
because and we probably should have had somebody on for this one who was older, but we kind of chose this one last minute, so that's why. And also, this is our first podcast where we've hit an hour.
Oh shoot. Okay, what's next?
So sorry for going long, but I honestly think that we got into a lot of interesting things, so it was worth it, hopefully, for the people listening. So I just have to plug our social medias, as always. Instagram at the Movie Vault Pod, email themovievaultpod@gmail.com. Looking forward to all your debating us on this one. Our next movie, Zach is not going to be here next week.
I'll be.
I have some plans
gone.
and ideas, but nothing official. So, but there might be a scenario where there will be lots of guests on with me.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
There may be a lot of estrogen.
Yes, that may be true, but we'll see what happens.
Yep, I hope to listen to it.
And final round, Die Hard is a good action movie. That was important, and it has sort of not as good acting because they don't let them display it, and it's fun to watch. So watch it, I guess.
And tell us what you think at.
themovievaultpod@gmail.com. Also at movievaultpod on Twitter. Just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all of the social media.
Say Instagram.
I said Instagram.
Okay, sweet. My bad. I missed it. Okay, with that, Ben.
It's time to close the vault.
Okay. Do you want to close it this time or be me?
I guess I can close it. Yeah.
All
Why
right.
not? Our super thick vault that has 7 layers.
All right. I just did an EMP, so it's time for you to close that 7th layer.
Okay. I have to type in the code. Beep boop beep boop boop beep beep.
Yippee-ki-yay.